So Google claims this 45-watt charger can charge the Pixel 9 Pro XL from 1% to 70% in about 30 minutes. Let's put that to the test. So the first milestone we're going to do in this test is to see how fast it can go from pretty much being dead all the way to 15% and how fast the phone can do that. And it does that in about 7 minutes and 2 seconds, which is actually pretty fast to get to 15% the power, decent enough to make some phone calls and do a little bit of stuff with it before you need to get some better charging. And you'll notice here on the watt meter that we have plugged in that you start to see the 45-watt charger push a little bit farther, push a little bit more power out there. Gets to about 31 watts at max, doesn't really go above that. And most of these 45-watt chargers, you don't get anywhere near the 45 watts that it usually advertises. Even the Samsung one only goes about 35 watts or so, and this one reaches about 31 watts. But our next milestone that we want to focus on is how fast it gets from that 15% to 50% power. And you'll see here exactly, it gets to 15% power in about 15 minutes from the last checkpoint at the 15%, but overall we're about 22 minutes or so in of charging time, and that's how fast it goes from 0 to 50%. But the 70% is what Google's claiming here, that it'll get there in about 30 minutes. A little bit questionable about that. We're at the 22-minute point. It says it can get all the way to 70, but you can see here, you'll see it starts to charge and the wattage fluctuates greatly. The phone does get warm during its charging period, and we were in a pretty cool environment with ambient temperatures. It wasn't too hot. It's actually been raining around here, so it's actually been kind of nice, but the phone itself did get warm during this period of time. But you can see through the fluctuations, it didn't hit the exact 30-minute mark, but from the 50% going all the way to the 70%, it did take about an additional 11 minutes or so to get there, for a total of about 34 minutes or so. So to get to 70% in about 30 minutes, 34 minutes, Google is roughly right there. There's some other factors that are there, but it seems like it does get to that point. But let's see how fast it gets to all the way up to 100% when we want a full charge. And you can see here, you'll start to see once you get about the 70% point that the wattage and the power coming from the 45-watt charger is going to start to trickle down. It's going to be probably mostly under 20 watts, even going as low as 8 or 9 watts. You're going to see this fluctuate over time because this is where it slows it down to kind of preserve the battery, and kind of keeps going through. And going from 70 all the way to full charge, that took about an additional 45 minutes or so in between that time, for a grand total of 1 hour and 20 minutes to go from 0 all the way to 100% with this. So Google's claim about the charging up to 70% in 30 minutes and about 30 minutes, I would say, is fairly accurate. It's a little vague on how they talk about it, but 35 minutes isn't too bad for that. I will say though that the 45-watt charger disappoints me a little bit. I wasn't expecting to go the full 45 watts, but I was at least expecting to get anywhere from like 35 because the Samsung one does that. I would still recommend, if you do want an official charger from Google, go ahead and get the 45-watt one if you're going to spend the money. Now you can take a look at some of the third-party chargers. Even though they may have even more wattage than what the official one offers, it's probably going to stay at a max around that 30 to 31 range that it's sort of at. So you probably want to look at what other features that those chargers offer if you're looking into that, or if it's cheaper than what the official Google one is and gives you the same benefits. So take a look at features, size, and those sort of things before you kind of make the decision between third party and the official one here. Thank you for watching this video. Definitely check out my first impressions video where I kind of talked about my first impression with the Pixel 9 Pro XL. I'll have a full video sort of covering everything as being a Samsung user, trying to switch over to Pixel and sort of my experience with that. Stay locked here on the channel, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.